I'm happy to be here on behalf of the national government to oversee or to preside over the handover of this site to the contractor for purposes of establishing an ICT hub. This is just one of the initial 100 ICT hubs that the national government is going to establish all over the country. Model ICT hubs, or centers of excellence, if you can call it. The national government is fully financing the construction and operationalization of the initial 100 hubs. A minimum of 2 in each county. After that, the national government, in partnership with the national government CDF, working together with the members of parliament, is also going to establish an additional 1,450 ICT hubs, 1 in each ward, all over the country, a total of 1,450. This is part and parcel of President Ruto's digital economy agenda, where we want to empower our youth by way of digital skilling and digital jobs. Once this ICT hub is established, the locals here, the youth, our young boys and girls, will get access to digital skills. They'll be trained on digital skills. But subsequent to that, courtesy of the national government, again, we will ensure that the youth get digital jobs. Are we together? Today, in this digital age, we no longer need to send our children to America, UK, Germany, or anywhere overseas to work there. They can work for global technological companies when they are right here in the village. And this is what we are pursuing as a Kenya Kwanza government, to stem the influx of the youth to the urban centers in search of jobs. We want to create the jobs right here in the village. And with President Ruto leading from the front, we have embarked on the process of establishing the digital hubs in the village. The national government is doing the initial 100 model centers of excellence of ICT, fully funded by the national government. So the one which is going to be established here is fully funded by the national government. Are we together? But after that, we are going to have another additional 1 ICT hub in each and every ward, which means if Rarieda constituency, for example, has 5 wards, then apart from the one we are doing here, we are going to have now an additional 5 ICT hubs financed by the national government in partnership with the Constituency Development Fund, working in partnership with the members of parliament. The members of parliament have already made the necessary amendments to the national government CDF fund that will now allow them to utilize 3% of the annual budgetary allocation of CDF to construct facilities for the establishment of the ICT hub. Once they have constructed the facility, the national government will come in to deploy the devices, that is the computers, connect the internet, facilitate the training of the youth, and also connect the youth to global technological companies for purposes of digital jobs. This is going to be a game changer. Imagine right here in the village, you have got a young boy or a young girl who completed Form 4 last year, has not been absorbed to the university. Now we are creating an opportunity for those young boys and girls to learn ICT skills here in the village. Then we connect them to global technological companies, and they will be paid for their work, digital jobs, in dollars, not Kenya shillings, in dollars. It's amazing that in a period of 1 month, each and every child will be getting an average of about 200,000 shillings, right here in the village. Each ICT hub will be able to train 300 youth on 1 shift. And we can have 2 or 3 shifts in a day, which means if some come in the morning at 8, they can learn up to 2 p.m. or work up to 2 p.m. Then another group comes in at 2 p.m. They can work or learn or work up to 6 p.m. Then another group comes in the evening. The world now has changed. So when it is evening here, it is morning in other countries overseas. That is the paradox. So we can have these children learning and earning for 24 hours. So this is one of the mechanisms which President Ruto's government is utilizing to turn Kenya into a 24-hour economy. Yangu leo ni kusema tu pole kwa familia. Mzee Leonard Mambo Mbotela. Unajua baadhi zetu, huyu mzee ndiye alifanya tukawa mashabiki ya mpira. Siku hizo hata kuingia kwa stadium ilikuwa ngumu. Kwa sababu tulikuwa bado kwa shule ya upili, hatungekuwa na pesa ya kuingia kwa kukata tiketi ya kuingia kwa stadium. Kwa hivyo tulikuwa tunaona mpira kwa radio akitangaza. Leonard Mambo Mbotela, na baadaye tukawa na Ali Salim Manga pia na Steven Mwite Koroso. Sasa game moja ambayo nakumbuka mpaka leo ni ile game ya Harambee Stars na Uganda Cranes 82 na Kuvubo Stadium. Hiyo mpira sijawahi kusikia mpira kama hiyo. Abbas alikuwa kwa goal, Hussein Heri namba 2, huyu Basanga namba 3, huyu Bob namba 4, huyu Murila namba 5, namba 6 ilikuwa Samu Itabu, namba 7 Nation Maila, namba 8 Jared Ngutia, namba 9 Jaijai Masiga, 10 Mulamba na 11 Ambrose Golden Boy Ayui. Mpira ilichezwa bwana, mpaka huyu Bob akaumia, akacheza akamaliza mpira akiwa na bandage kwa kichwa. Kwa sababu walikuwa wameamua kwamba lazima kwa udi na uvumba lazima tushinde hiyo game. Wangapi wanakumbuka hiyo game? Ilikuwa game ngumu sana. Ikaenda mpaka kwa penalty. Na basi siku hizo ndiye alikuwa Kenya 1 mwenyewe. Sasa huyu mzee alitupa furaha sana kwa utangazaji wa mpira. Yeye ndiye alifanya tukawa mashabiki. Sasa hawa wakina Bob, wakina Murila hawa tulikuwa tunawasikia tu kwa radio siku hizo. Unajua mtu anaitwa controller hako, AFC Leopards na Harambee Stars. $6 million man. Huyu mjamaa ndiye alikuwa anafanya tunasikia hizo majina. Hatungekuwa na uwezo ya kuingia kwa nini? Kwa mastadium siku hizo. Kwa hivyo ikaenda namna hiyo. Sasa mimi sijawahi kuona mtangazaji wa mpira kama Leonard Mambo Mbotela. Ubaya yake ilikuwa moja. Siku ile ya derby, Gor na FC alikuwa anapendelea FC. Hapo ndio tulikuwa hapo ndio tulikuwa tunatafutana. Alikuwa mtu wa FC. Sasa ikaenda namna hiyo. Dakabili akisifu Masiga JJ Justo. Masiga. Wilberforce Mulamba Maradona. Lakini upande yetu, sijui mara anasema huyu Abbas Magongo, sijui amepatia Goro Ronge. Ananyamaza anasema goal. Bila nguvu tukifunga tukifunga anasema goal bila nguvu. Zaman za kale siku hizo. Sasa mwaka jana tulikuwa na mzee pia. Nilikuwa nimeweka kikao ya breakfast, kukula breakfast na wale watangazaji wa zamani. Tulikuwa na Leonard Mambo, wakina Adija Ali, wakina Linjiru, watu wengi sana wale walikuwa wanafanya KBC kitambo. Hiyo ndio ilikuwa siku ya mwisho kukutana naye. Na alikuwa na furaha sana siku hiyo. Hata tukapiga picha na yeye. Hiyo picha bado niko naye mpaka sasa hivi. Ungejua hata mzee ungeamini kwamba yeye alikuwa mgonjwa wakati huo tayari. Kwa hivyo ile ndo naweza sema kwa sasa ni kusema pole kwa familia na kusherekea maisha yake. Yeye amefanya yake, si ndio? Ile imebaki ni sasa kwetu, wale wamebaki nyumbani, wale wamebaki, sisi pia tufanye zetu na matendo mzuri zile Wakenya watatukumbuka nayo. Nataka niseme asante pia kwa hao wachezaji wakongwe wa zamani. Ni marafiki zetu. Jana niliwatafuta, tukaongea, tukakubaliana kwamba tutakuja hapa. Yangu leo ni kusema tu pole kwa familia. Tutakuja kwa kanisa kesho, na baadhi zetu wale wataweza pia watakuwa na nyinyi siku ya mazishi. So we came here as soccer fans, former soccer players and people who knew Leonard Mambo Mbotela to say pole to the family. Leonard Mambo Mbotela was a hero within the sports fraternity. Most of us who are soccer lovers today became soccer lovers courtesy of the commentary that Leonard Mambo Mbotela used to do in the 80s. I vividly remember one soccer match in the year 1982 when the Kenya national team, Harambee Stars, was playing against Uganda Cranes at Nakivubo Stadium in Uganda. It was a very tough match, perhaps one of the toughest matches that Harambee Stars has played away from home. But we managed to win on post-match penalties. In that team, we have got individuals who are here today, and that match was commentated by Leonard Mambo Mbotela. We have got Bobby Ogola here, who was playing number 4 that day. We have Josephat Murila, who was the sweeper on that particular day. We have Peter Otieno Basanga, who was playing number 3 on that day. We also have several players, former players here, who played in the 80s when Leonard Mambo Mbotela was on top of his game as far as football commentary was concerned. We have got Dennis Obua, who played for Reunion. We have got David Ochieng Kamoga, Michael Amwai, Swale Ochieng Oswayo. We have got George Sunguti there, Mickey Weche T9. We have got Omar Shaban. We have John Shoto Lukoe. We have Nico Kotha Kuro. We have Peter Lichungu. We have Tobias Ochola Juakali. So this just shows you how much Leonard Mambo Mbotela was held in high esteem by former players. He was like a senior brother to them. Yeah? He provided them with guidance. He was actually a marketing agent to the players because most of these players got their nicknames and became known in the East African region courtesy of the commentary that Leonard Mambo Mbotela did. So as a soccer fraternity, sport lovers in general, we say pole to the family, and we can only celebrate Leonard Mambo Mbotela's life. He did his bit. What remains is for us to pick the lessons that we have learned from his life and build on it, those of us who have remained. I must start by commending REREC for the work that you have been doing in facilitating last mile connectivity to the rural areas. This is very much in line with our bottom-up economic transformation agenda, where we strive to facilitate the lives and livelihoods of those who are operating at the bottom of the economic pyramid. You are aware that one of the challenges we have been facing in Kenya, as in many other developing countries, is the issue of unemployment. And deliberately and consciously as a government, we are coming up with programs that can create jobs right there in the villages so that we also stem the rural urban migration in search of jobs. So REREC is a key facilitator in this through your connectivity of electricity on one hand, but also support to businesses. Today you are not able to do any business without power, without electricity. So REREC in this regard plays a critical role in facilitating businesses in the rural areas through electricity connectivity. And the same thing with public institutions such as schools, health centers, and so on and so forth. I'm glad that you are pursuing green energy in the pursuit of your mandate. That really is the direction to go. And in line with that, you did set out certain strategic objectives to pursue during the period 2023-2024 financial year. And the first one was to develop and promote the use of renewable energy, and another one is to facilitate enhanced electricity connectivity, more so in the rural areas. But informed by those objectives, you made specific commitments to install 258 extension transformers in 258 constituencies. You also did commit to electrify 340 public facilities, including trading centers, schools, and health centers. and also to maintain 150 solar PV systems installed in primary schools and undertake 55% electrification of the Galana Kululu food security project. With those strategic intents, and of course in line with your core business emanating from your mandate, you committed to undertake electrification of public institutions, undertake installation of transformers in constituencies, undertake electrification of the Galala Kululu food security project, facilitate maintenance program in primary schools with respect to solar, install the Kenya off-grid solar access project with new solar pumps, and also facilitate ease of doing business, among others. With those interventions, we did discuss with you people at the beginning of the last activity period the expected outputs in each area, the output indicators, and the targets. Those were that was done in a very participatory manner, a negotiated process. We negotiated, we validated, and ratified the expected outputs and the output indicators and the specific targets for each activity of program. That then informs the basis of the performance evaluation at this point in time. So we are basically looking at statistical evidence to confirm that those targets were met or the indicators were realized as was envisaged. It will be as objective as that. As government, we are taking this performance evaluation and performance contracting very, very seriously. We want to institutionalize the culture of performance management in the entire public service. And that is why we are appealing to organizations to cascade the performance management framework all the way down to the individual scorecard, so that each and everybody in the public service can be held accountable by way of results. Organizations in the public sector are financed largely through the exchequer. And because we are utilizing public funds to execute our mandate, we must also be accountable to the Kenyan people, isn't it? Yeah? And that is what we need to do at all levels, starting with the CEO, the heads of departments, up to individuals in everybody, virtually everybody in the public service is going to be held accountable. Moving forward, we also want to tie performance evaluation or performance contracting to reward management, to the extent that those institutions which excel in performance or exceed in the set target will be rewarded commensurately, through the necessary support, including but not limited to additional funding by the exchequer. But equally, those institutions or organizations which are not performing will face sanctions, including individuals in those organizations. And organizations which are perpetually non-performers should be allowed to die their natural deaths. Gone are the days when we kept on pumping money into organizations which are not performing. It does not make sense. It simply does not make sense. Either you justify your existence or you face closure. And recently you saw that we have proposed certain mergers, of institutions, or we have also opted to do away with certain institutions. It's basically a question of justifying your existence as an organization. So I really want to urge you guys to work as hard as possible so that you effectively execute your mandate and support the implementation of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda as is envisaged. National Irrigation Authority is an integral player in the rollout of our bottom-up economic transformation agenda. You are aware that we have got 5 thematic areas in our plan, and agriculture is a standalone thematic area, key result area in that plan. Now, with respect to agriculture, it was deemed appropriate that as opposed to financing consumption, we redirect more and more resources to production with specific focus on agriculture. When the 5th administration came into being, we were grappling with high cost of living. And based on available statistics, the cost of food constitutes up to 54% of the cost of living index. That's why deliberately and consciously, with the president leading from the front, he decided that this government is going to lay more emphasis on supporting both agricultural production and productivity. But in that space also, we cannot just continue relying on rain-fed agriculture, because that will not lead to sustainable production due to the erratic nature of our weather patterns. That is why irrigation becomes a key facilitator for agricultural sustainability, and because that functional domain of developing and managing irrigation schemes lies within the mandate of the National Irrigation Authority, you are a crucial player in the rollout or execution of our bottom-up economic transformation agenda. You did develop the fourth cycle strategic plan covering the period 2023-24 to 2027-28. And based on that strategic plan, you are implementing it in annual work plans, which are the operational plans. So in conformity to your 2023-2024 annual work plan, you correspondingly entered into a performance contract with government, committing yourselves to meeting certain deliverables, both quantitatively and qualitatively at the end of the activity period, in line with your mandate and strategic intents for that period. Among the strategic objectives you intended to pursue at that point in time were to increase the area under irrigation by 26,685 acres by 2024, increase irrigation water storage holding capacity to 25.5 million cubic meters by 2024, achieve at least 150% utilization in each of the irrigation schemes, and also embrace emerging technologies in irrigation and develop and adapt sustainable irrigation management framework. In line with your core mandate, you committed to work towards development of irrigation infrastructure and water storage facilities, utilize installed irrigation infrastructure for agricultural production to contribute towards food security in line with the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, and also increase the area under irrigation by 18,750 acres, while correspondingly also increasing irrigation water storage holding capacity by 25.5 million cubic meters, and realizing 100% utilization in each of the irrigation schemes. Based on your core mandate again, you had specific interventions or intended to roll out specific interventions, and this specifically entailed increasing the area under irrigation, undertaking operations and maintenance of public irrigation schemes, implementing the Bura Irrigation Development Project, implementing the Mwea Irrigation Development Project, developing the Lower Kuja Irrigation Project, increasing irrigation water storage capacity for households, increasing irrigation water storage capacity for communities, and also enhancing production of rice for consumption, developing the Galana Kulalu Food Security Project, and then developing large dams under the PPP framework in response to the financial challenges by way of exchequer support that you had alluded to earlier. Then, with that in place as the benchmark of what you intended to do, when we now come in to do the performance evaluation, it will fully and objectively be in tandem with what you had committed earlier. It will be as objective as that. You had clear expected outputs. We discussed, negotiated, validated, and ratified the performance indicators as well as the targets. That then forms the basis for the performance evaluation. So we'll be looking at objectively verifiable statistics or evidence to confirm performance or non-performance, as the case may be at this point in time. Okay? So we don't have the leeway of modifying the targets or altering the indicators. They remain the same. And the evaluation by this team will be done in full conformity to that. Now, let me also emphasize the fact that the government is taking performance management and by extension performance contracting very, very seriously. We want to institutionalize performance management in the entire public service so that each and everybody who is working in the public service is held accountable by way of results. And to institutionalize this, we are going ahead to tie performance management and by extension performance evaluation to reward management. Those organizations which excel in performance will be rewarded commensurately, including but not limited to enhancement of exchequer support. But correspondingly also those organizations which are not performing will face sanctions, including individuals in those organizations. That's the direction we are going. Those institutions which each and every year, year in, year out, are perpetual non-performers will be allowed to die their natural deaths so that we don't continue having organizations which are becoming a drain on the exchequer, continuously consuming public funds, yet they are not justifying their existence by way of performance. Lift up your socks so that you work as hard as possible to realize your mandate. Now, you may realize that when it comes to capital infrastructure, capital projects, don't just solely rely on funding from the exchequer. You have to be creative and innovative. In line with your strategic plan and your business plan, use that as a shopping document to reach out to the private sector so that we can come up with public-private partnerships in respect to certain projects. That is really the direction. Yeah? If you have got feasible, bankable proposals, you should be able to attract funding from the private sector to augment the resources that we have from the National Treasury with a view to rolling out some of the programs that you have in place. We are here to assess or evaluate the performance of the company for the period 2023-2024. And that is anchored on your work plan, annual work plan for the same period, which is actually a means of operationalizing your strategic plan. You have an ambitious vision of being Africa's premier oil and gas company, yeah? And with that in place, you did put in place certain strategic objectives to pursue. I just want to mention two key ones of those objectives. One is to grow the existing business through the proposed acquisition and optimization of the Kenya Petroleum and Oil Refineries Limited. And the other one is to diversify the business through entry into LPG gas import handling and storage business. And in line with the same, you had certain strategic intents for the same activity period, one of them being to enhance the pipeline infrastructure capacity, expand the business through enhancement of the fiber optic cable uptake, and then complete preparatory activities for LPG gas import handling and storage facility in Mombasa, and then, of course, depending on unfolding events from time to time, implement government policies or align to government policies through directives given either by way of executive orders or otherwise. But in line with your core mandate, there are specific interventions you had committed to undertake within the same period. One of them is capacity building, undertake capacity building, secure the petroleum product supply, manage pipeline product losses, enhance the throughput, construct the truck loading facility, connect PS15, that is the KPRL depot, to the main line 5, and then rehabilitate the Portrees tanks, ensure seamless flow of oil products, enhance your fiber optic cable, facilitate LPG bulk handling and storage, enhance the safety measures, and facilitate the ease of doing business. Now, in each and every one of those areas, you had got expected outputs, and we also discussed and agreed on the performance indicators and the targets. We negotiated, yeah, validated, and ratified the performance indicators and the performance targets. That then becomes the common denominator, our Bible, when we are doing the performance evaluation. We just go back to the indicators and the targets So what the evaluation team will be looking at is empirical evidence of performance or non-performance, as the case may be. At this point in time, we don't have the leeway to modify the targets. We don't have the leeway to modify the indicators. I'm glad that you have already done your own self-evaluation. So we will basically be doing a moderation exercise to confirm the veracity or otherwise of the scores that you have allocated to yourselves. Let me also emphasize that Kenya Pipeline is a very, very integral player in the Kenyan economy. From an infrastructure perspective in the energy sector, we view Kenya Pipeline as one of those integral cogs in the delivery of our bottom-up economic transformation agenda. You are aware that one of the major initiatives that the government has been undertaking in the recent past also is to ensure that we have got cooking gas in schools. Yeah, and because you are the ones who facilitate the entire supply chain, we envisage that you will conform to the expected deliverables in line with your mandate. The market is dynamic, and of course we also expect that you'll align yourself to emerging trends in the market and also benchmark with global best practices in oil and gas industry. This is a framework through which you commit yourself beforehand to meet certain deliverables within specified timeframes. You are aware that our overall development agenda is pegged on the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. And within that, agriculture is an integral component, a standalone thematic area. We did say when we came into government that as opposed to subsidizing consumption, we would subsidize production. And our target in this regard was agriculture, because one of the challenges we were grappling with when the fifth administration came into being was the high cost of living. And if you analyze the integral components of the cost of living index, the cost of food constitutes 54% of the cost of living index. So we did say that we will put money into agricultural production and productivity, and of course, in effect, also facilitate an increase in the levels of disposable income of the people. Within that space of agriculture, we can no longer solely just rely on rain-fed agriculture. Yeah? We have to pursue alternative mechanisms, and one of these is irrigation. To facilitate irrigation, we must harvest water when we have got excess rain, store the water, yeah, in readiness for irrigation. This is where now National Water Harvesting and Storage Authority comes in to enable us harvest excess water and also store it and facilitate release of the same for purposes of irrigation and other uses in terms of need. So you are an integral player as far as the infrastructure component of our development agenda is concerned. And it is in view of this that we did ask the National Water Harvesting and Storage Authority, in line with its mandate, to make certain commitments by way of performance contract for the period 2023-2024. That performance contract is also in tandem with your annual work plan for the period 2023-2024. And the annual work plan is the first work plan within your 5-year strategic plan period. So in that performance contract, you made specific commitments in line with your core mandate. And some of the interventions that you committed to undertake included the construction of the Korusoin Dam, undertaking cadastral survey for the Korusoin Dam again, reviewing the Badasa Songa Dam water supply, commencing the construction of the Uma Dam water supply, constructing flood control projects, yeah, constructing the Sioi Dam, undertaking Bosto Dam stakeholder participation to pave way for commencement of that project, and then, of course, regular monitoring of the Korusoin Dam environmental impact issues, and then progressing with the COE water supply project. What we are now here to do as a team is to evaluate the veracity or otherwise as to whether the commitments that you made in the performance contract have been met. More specifically, with respect to the expected outputs, the output indicators, and the targets that were contained therein. So in short, or in summary, the evaluation team will simply be looking at evidence of performance or non-performance, as the case may be. Yeah? So we are looking for objectively verifiable evidence to confirm performance. Unfortunately, at this point in time now, we cannot meddle with the outputs, the output indicators. We have got no leeway to alter the targets. We just go with what was discussed, negotiated, validated, and ratified at the point of the performance contract. It is as objective as that. You are basically evaluating what you know and what you have actually been working towards during the activity period. So that's the way we are going to go about it. And you also need to understand that in government also, because resources are scarce, organizations also compete for resources. Yeah? And the direction we are taking as government is that we are not going to have organizations which are perpetually underperforming, continuing to become a drain on the exchequer. Yeah? The government pumping public funds into organizations which are perpetually not performing. Those organizations should be allowed to die their natural what? Natural deaths. But to those of you who are still alive as organizations, you need to understand that you will be competing for what? Resources. And we are saying that moving forward, we are going to tie performance management and performance evaluation to reward management so that we put in more money to organizations which are adding value based on value proposition, organizations which are meeting their mandate and aligned to the overall government policy framework and development agenda. Yeah? So that would be the impetus. You work hard, you get better reward, including but not limited to enhanced exchequer levels. If you are not performing, then there is no reason why you should have continuous budgetary support. And also creativity and innovation. You may have realized that we are encouraging organizations to also develop their own revenue what? Streams. Yeah? Yeah? A in A, you develop your own revenue streams so that you are able to finance some of your programs and activities without just waiting for funding from the exchequer. I felt it is imperative for us to engage the Kenya National Union of Teachers, as we have done with other stakeholder segments in preparations for the Nyanza International Investment Conference. When we came up with the idea of having an international investment conference, the rationale was to see how to tap into the expertise, networks, and linkages of private sector and professionals from Nyanza to see how we can reach out to prospective investors to come in and take advantage of the development opportunities we have within Nyanza, informed by the comparative advantages of various regions in Nyanza. As you are aware, we have largely left development to the two levels of government, the county governments on one hand and the national government on the other. Because of the politics around governance in this country, professionals largely have been taking a backseat. And more often than not, professionals come in to complain about underperformance at both levels of government. So we decided that this time around we are going to do it differently and see how we could pull together resources in terms of technical capacity, networks and linkages of the professionals, and reach out to prospective investors. And the best platform to do this is none other than an investment conference. Within Nyanza, we have got so many development plans, yeah, which espouse the development opportunities in that region. If you look at the Lake Region Economic Bloc strategic plan, you'll get the thematic areas of our development needs. The master plan, which has been developed by Lake Basin Development Authority, you will get the development needs there. We have so many papers. We have had also similar conferences before. But now we want to move from strategy to action. Is it possible that we can have a different investment conference that really comes up with tangible outputs in terms of engagement and even agreements that can translate into actual investment on the ground? So that's how we came in as agents of necessity to fill the void that currently exists. And we wanted to make this process as participatory as possible. Yeah? So by way of inclusivity, we have already engaged all the governors. Yeah? And this time round, the governors from Nyanza are even bringing on board their counterparts from the Lake Region Economic Bloc, the 14 governors in total, to take part in this conference. We have reached out to the EU because we saw the EU as an important vehicle for mobilizing prospective investors. So we had a meeting with 29 ambassadors of the European Union, and based on that, they have already reached out to prospective investors aligned to the development opportunities we have in Nyanza so that they can come in and take part in the conference. We have also reached out to India, we have reached out to Korea, we have reached out to the UK and the United States, courtesy of USAID as well. We also reached out to all the other professional groups that we could think of in terms of value proposition. In previous conferences or in previous initiatives, there are critical players who always complain that they are not involved. So this time we didn't want to leave anybody around. As at yesterday, I thought that perhaps we have done well, but not good enough. Yeah? So I reached out to Mr. Yu here and had a chat with him. He came over, we had a discussion, and I told him, look, we cannot be doing a development conference in Nyanza and we are not talking to the teachers. My experience in the public space informs me that if you want anything disseminated in this country, there are two vehicles you can use. Either you use the provincial administration or you use teachers. Those are the most effective tools for dissemination of any initiative. So when I spoke to Mr. Oyu, he readily accepted to convene this team for a meeting so that they can be briefed, given a status update on what this conference is about and where we are and how they can get involved. The government is putting in place all efforts to ensure that performance management is institutionalized in the public service. Performance contracting is a one-off activity. We enter into performance contract as a tool for ensuring that the goals and objectives that we want to pursue is implemented. So performance contracting is just one of the activities of performance management, but performance management is a continuous process. Every day you manage performance, yeah? But through performance contracting, you commit yourself beforehand to certain minimum deliverables at the end of the activity period. As you are all aware, the aspirations of NEC as an institution is anchored on its strategic plan. And right now you are in the phase of implementing the 2023-24, 27-28 strategic plan, which is also aligned to the overall government policy framework guided by the Vision 2030, the MTP4, and also the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. NEC is a critical enabler in realizing the overall government development agenda because human capital is perhaps the greatest resource that we have as a country. And NEC is a facilitator in that. So the government is very keen on ensuring that this organization effectively delivers on its mandate. So guided by your 2023-2024 annual work plan, you did get into a performance contract for the same period, 2023-2024. That performance contract espoused certain strategic intents which you intended to achieve during that activity period. And one of them was to deliver credible examinations and assessments, both at primary and secondary levels, devise strategies of ensuring access to registration and administration of NEC assessment and examinations, and also ensuring that you have got a comprehensive framework for quality control and certification. And in line with that, you did make certain commitments informed by your core mandate. And one of the commitments that you made was to conduct e-assessment in teacher education. The other was to develop competence-based assessment test papers and assessment tools, undertake training of teachers on competency-based assessment, administer school-based assessments, administer school-based assessments at both primary and junior school levels, then administer the national examinations, improve the assessment and examinations management framework, then operationalize the CBA portal for management of junior schools, and also pilot e-assessment on basic education in junior school at grade 7, host the annual conference for the Association of Educational Assessment, and institutionalize risk management so that as you implement your strategic plan, you also have an adequate and comprehensive framework of ensuring that you mitigate against all the inherent risks. For all those interventions, you had specific deliverables at the end of the activity period, envisioned at the end of the activity period. And informed by the same, we did discuss with you people and agree on the expected outputs and the output indicators and the targets that were supposed to be realized. Is that so? Yes. So what we want to do at this point in time of evaluation is to ascertain whether or not the expected deliverables were met and the targets were realized. That is the essence of performance evaluation. So we are basically now looking for empirically verifiable evidence that you delivered based on the expected outputs, the indicators, and the targets. The university has got a strategic plan covering the period 2023-24 to 2027-28, which articulates the roadmap that the organization should follow moving forward. But in line with that strategic plan, the university has broken it down into annual work plans, with the first annual work plan being that of the year 2023-2024. To operationalize or facilitate successful implementation of the annual work plan and by extension the strategic plan, it is imperative that we have performance contract. And it is within that context that the university entered into a performance contract covering the period 2023-2024. That performance contract, of course, is guided by the overall strategic direction on one hand, and the integral interventions, programs, and activities that the university intended to undertake within that activity period on the other, and output indicators and even time-bound targets, which then will inform the basis of the performance evaluation that we are about to embark on. We are aware that the intent within the context of the performance contract is to ensure excellence in education and training advance research, innovation, science, and technology, which is an integral component of your core mandate, facilitate collaboration, linkages, and partnerships with relevant stakeholder segments, and then benchmark with global best practices in the education sector. And of course, all of this is geared towards facilitating successful execution of your mandate, which is the very reason for your existence. The areas that we will be interrogating, therefore, are the same programs and activities that you had committed to undertake at the beginning of the activity period 2023-2024. The basis of the performance evaluation, therefore, good people, would be the indicators of performance that were discussed, negotiated, validated, whether or not you conducted student membership. We will be looking at the proportion of academic staff with PhD degrees, whether or not you enhance students on continuing education program, registration of intellectual property, commercialization of innovations, dissemination of research outputs, community outreach programs, expansion of institutional repository, the level of funding of projects, research projects, the library resources, and of course, phytotherapeutic products, whether or not that was developed among other thematic areas. I believe that with the leadership that you have, because you have wealth of experience, both in management and even performance management at both the council level and management level, I have no doubt that this provided invaluable value proposition in the performance of the university over that activity period. In line with your 2023-2024 financial year annual work plan, you did enter into a contract with government, committing yourselves to certain minimum levels of performance, both quantitatively and qualitatively. Within that performance contract, which is aligned to your overall strategic plan, the strategic objectives that you intended to pursue over that activity period include reversing and stabilizing the declining trend across wildlife populations and resilient ecosystems, strengthening enforcement capacity, enhancing internal business processes, and excellence in service delivery, that is business process engineering, strengthening relationship with stakeholders and partners, enhancing the institutional capacity, and also enhancing financial sustainability. And in line with that, you committed to provide leadership in conservation, enhance partnership with the stakeholders, and also develop the relevant mechanisms that would facilitate financial sustainability. Arising from that, good people, in line with your core mandate, you did commit to enhance response to human-wildlife conflict, to mitigate human-wildlife conflict, enhance response to wildlife and visitor security threats, undertake conservation education awareness, develop and maintain the Kenya Signature Parks initiatives, develop and maintain adventure, wilderness, and edutainment initiatives, and then develop marine park initiatives and enhance climate change resilience for wildlife, and rehabilitate housing units, as well as develop the protected area management plans, among others. In all those interventions, there were very, very clear expected outputs by way of deliverables. There were very clear performance indicators, and there were also targets which were to be met within the activity period. Our role at this point in time, therefore, is to assess or evaluate whether or not the performance indicators were realized and whether or not the targets were met. And we need to look at this objectively because it is the only mechanism we have at our disposal to ensure that the organization is on track in line with its mandate. So this process is going to be as objective as possible. At this point in time, we are looking for the evidence of performance. Yeah? So we cannot now start varying the outputs, we cannot vary the indicators, we cannot vary the targets. Those then inform the denominator on which the performance evaluation exercise will be anchored. Ladies and gentlemen, as the patron of the Nyanza International Investment Conference 2025, I take this opportunity to personally thank everyone who contributed to the resounding success of this landmark event held at the Siala Resort. First, allow me to express our heartfelt appreciation to His Excellency President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, our chief guest, who was ably represented by the Deputy President, Professor Kithure Kindiki. To the esteemed cabinet secretaries, the county governors, principal secretaries, and parastatal chairs and CEOs, your invaluable insights paved the way for transformative discussions and actionable outcomes. A special thank you goes to the scholars whose research and expertise have enriched our understanding and provided tangible solutions to the challenges that we face. To the business leaders, investors, and entrepreneurs who participated in thoughtful discussions on investment and partnerships, your presence underscores the critical role of the private sector in driving economic growth and creating opportunities for our people. A special thank you to our media partners, including the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, the Star Newspaper, Nation Media Group, the Standard Group, Cape Media, Homeboys Entertainment, and our community radio stations in Nyanza. Your dedication has helped connect the grassroots to these vital conversations. To all our speakers, panelists, and participants, thank you for your time, expertise, and commitment. Your efforts have made this conference a beacon of hope and opportunity for the Nyanza region and beyond. Let us now move forward with renewed energy, good people, determination, and collaboration as we build a brighter and more prosperous future for Nyanza, Kenya as a whole, and the entire East African region. Thank you all, and may we continue to work together to realize our shared vision.